Hey guys, Steve with Fly Drones. We've got another video coming at you. We're going to talk about doing a dual battery mod on the DJI Mavic today. This is going to allow us to add two XT60 connectors to it and hook up some external batteries. So there's my disclaimer: do this at your own risk. Make sure you have the skills. But basically, what we're going to do is get some tools, take out the props battery, remove the shell, remove some screws, basically cut some holes in the Mavic, splice in some power lines, make it all nifty, put some electrical tape over it, some liquid tape, put it all back in place, and then hook up some batteries and fly it. So let's break down those steps. Step one, get your tools ready. So get all your tools laid out. Then take off the props, remove the battery, get a little dish to have your screws put in. Go ahead and remove the top shell. There's 6 hex screws there. Once you're done with that, flip it over. You'll remove some bottom screws. Looks like there's a total of 6 hex screws and 2 little covers there. We'll then pop the top off. There's a couple clips you can push there. Pop the top off there. Then once we get in there, we're going to cut some holes in the Mavic. We're going to cut a couple holes in it that we can have these power lines go through. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and take off the power board. We're going to cut out or carve out a couple internal connectors or a couple supports, and then route our lines, strip down those wires, and then we're going to hot glue them in place. And then after that, we're going to start some soldering and solder those external wires onto the newly spliced area there. Once that's done, we're going to put some liquid tape on it, or electric tape. Let it dry, put that battery connector board back on, and then once that's done, we're just going to put all the lines kind of back in place, tuck the wires in, put those gimbal plugs or the gimbal ribbon back in, plug in the GPS, put the shell on, and then put a couple screws back in place. And at that point, you're good to go, guys. So this is a little lengthy video, so bear with me, but hopefully it'll be informational and this will work out well for you guys. Take care. Alright, hey guys, this is Steve Barnes. You've seen me on other videos. I usually don't put my face on here, but we're going to try to do this in one continuous video. What we're going to do is we're going to do a dual battery mod on the DJI Mavic tonight. So this will be a fun little project for a Friday night. So flip it off of me. We'll take a look real quick here. We got some tools set out. We got the DJI Mavic. We've got a soldering iron ready to go. We've got a Dremel. You can have a Dremel bit on it. You can have a drill if you want with a drill bit. I like a Dremel. We got some soldering iron. We've got a wire stripper. We've got 2 XT60 power leads. I think these are 14 gauge. We've got a screwdriver that's got, I think this is an 8mm hex bit on it. We've got some wire clippers, some needle-nose pliers, and some liquid tape. One more screw on each side here. So we're going to go ahead and take those out as well using the same hex bit. That's all, just these last 2, and we should be able to get the cover off. Okay. Now go ahead and flip it back over. And if you look inside of the inside area, I'll zoom it in right here. You'll see these little tabs right here. So these are the tabs that are holding it on. There's these tabs on each side. Flip it, then you can see the tabs on the other side. So what you can do, zoom back out here. Is just take your screwdriver, just push it in here, turn, and then do it on the other side. That'll just kind of loosen up these tabs. Oh, you can hear that one popped. That was good. And then as soon as that happened, I noticed here on the back, this kind of popped off. So basically what I do is I put my thumb under it, slowly pop it off. Now if it's not coming off, oh, there you go. Look, it just came off in one pop. It really shouldn't be a whole lot. You shouldn't have to edge it around too much. It should come off in one good pop. So when we put it back on, we'll have to remember to hook this back on. I'll make sure we have GPS and compass. But otherwise, that's the aircraft there. Okay, so what we're after is a battery mod, right? And so you'll see here we've got these two. So black is going to be our negative, white's going to be our positive. This right here, you can see here's a battery, so the battery hooks in here, right? So this has got a positive and negative as well. So when it comes to the actual battery mod, we got a couple options. You can solder directly to these. You can pull this board up and you can solder to those. So you can see them here. Kind of hard to see, but there's some that we can solder to in here. We'll take the board off later. Or you can kind of splice into these wires here and you can solder directly onto them. The one key, the thing that you really just got to remember when you're doing this, you guys, is there's not a lot of room here. And so you can't have your wires sticking out, you know, this way. Anything you have to do is it's got to be tucked under here. So, okay, let's take a look at what we got to do to accomplish the battery mod. So I'll flip the aircraft around. We'll take a look at things real quick here. So my end goal that I'm going to do here is going to be to have my XT60s, my wires, coming out of here. So I'm going to have one coming out of here, then I'm going to have one coming out of here over here. I want them to come out just far enough that they kind of stick out. I'm not going to flush mount them. I haven't really figured out a good way to flush mount them and being able to cut in that part yet. But these have to fit. And so we're going to have to cut a hole here. So I've got a Dremel out. When you cut the hole, you don't have to cut the hole for the big plastic part, but rather these right here. And so under here I think are some metal things that are soldered on. And so it's a little bit fatter than the wires. So you can't just drill wire holes. You got to make it just a little bit bigger. And you want to make sure as well that you don't have rub. It's going to be, we'll call it sharp plastic. That's going to be potentially rubbing on that. And if you're going to put your batteries on or off, that could be a bad thing. So, okay, so we know now where we're going to put our power leads. I've probably shown some videos on other areas where you can see what they look like. So from the top half here, we got a lot of parts here. So this is primarily the camera here. But if you look right down in here, this is in between these two screw holes. So here's a screw hole. So we're going to aim for right in between the screw holes. And so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to Dremel a hole through here. Not only do we need to Dremel a hole through here, we got it over here. All right. So that's actually not too bad. But in order, after we get the Dremel to the hole down there, in order to route the lines, we gotta make a couple other mods. So we got to make a couple of choices of the direction we want the wires to go. So what I'm going to do is probably, see this little piece right here? I'll zoom in here. I'm going to take that piece out. So I'll be clipping out probably this piece right here, this piece of plastic, this support right here. I'll clip that out. And then my lines should fit under here directly. As you can see, I've just popped that off. That's one of the camera things. That's okay. So I'm gonna put it right through here. I think that my lines will fit through there without any problems. It's gonna be a tight fit, but that's okay. I'm not gonna super glue or hot glue this one. So I'm gonna take that out. I'm gonna use some wire clippers to do it. Otherwise, you could take out this whole thing right here. I don't want to get rid of the whole structural support. Last time I did it, I took this one out and then this one out. Maybe that's excessive, I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on both sides. And so first thing to do, we are going to pull these gimbals off, sorry, these ribbons off. Or actually for this part, let's leave them on. We're gonna do some drilling. We don't want them flopping around. Okay, so I got my trusty Dremel ready, and I got my wire clippers. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's start with the Dremel. So we'll see if we can keep this on cam.
Let my hand get in the way too bad. Okay. All right, guys, this is the part where you cut into your Mavic, your $1,000 drone. It's actually not a big deal at all. So we're gonna go ahead and make a hole. You can see I'm gonna try to get as close as I can to this side right here. We officially have a hole in the Mavic. So let's go ahead and double the size of that, and then we'll clean it up just a little bit. Again, my goal right now is to have it shaped kind of oblong, big enough for this to fit through it. Okay, you can see I've got a hole. Holy shit, there's a hole in my Mavic. Zoom out just a little bit. Flip it over. Do a test fit here. Wires are they're a little tight, and so at this point you got to figure out, do I want these little metal things to go under, or am I okay with them hanging out here? You know, it's personal preference. It really depends on how big you want the hole to be. However you make the oblong is really also going to depend on what direction you want the plugs to be. If you want them, you know, like this or like this, you can make it one way or the other. I'm going to go ahead and make it just a little bit bigger so it'll drop in a little bit further. Maybe I can actually epoxy it in place and get it a little more flush this time, so they're not hanging out. So that's what I'm going to aim for. So I'm going to take these back out. So that means that I got to come this way. All right, let's check this one out now. Those look pretty good right there. And I push these in. They're tight. They're tight. They're not flush, but they're tight. You know, I actually learned last time that I liked having a little bit of play in them. That way they weren't just stuck down like this, that they could actually come like this. So I'm going to do that. In the end, I'll probably put some glue in there or some silicone to hold them in place. But I'm happy with that. So now we're going to try to replicate that on the other side. This one's a little tougher because you got this little wire in the way. This little black and white one. This is a wire that goes to the camera. So go ahead and pull this out. Just make sure it's to the side. You don't want to nick that at all. That'll ruin your afternoon real quick, boys. All right. Gonna do another hole in our Mavic. Be careful. I hit my gimbal cover on this one. You can see it right there. So be very careful on this one so you don't hit your camera as well. I probably should have taken the gimbal cover off. I forgot about that. But on the positive, we got a perfectly shaped hole. Heck yeah, that looks good. All right, you guys. So just to show you how it's kind of starting to come together. That one goes there. I'll probably turn that one around. Flat end, in. Alright guys, so that's how it's going to end up being. And that's how it's going to be on the top. And so now we got to figure out how we're going to get the lines in there. So now you can see that's why we're going to take out that one there. So let's take the, that was fun, let's take the XT60s off again. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to need to take off the power thing. I think in order to get better access to it, what I like to do is take off the little power thing. I don't know what the heck that's called, to be honest, you guys. I'm going to call it the little power thing from here on out. But basically that's the little power thing that you hook into. So I'm going to flip it around here for just a second. So there's a couple things on this. We got to get to some screws that are underneath. You'll notice that there's this little cover here that's kind of glued on. I don't know, it almost looks plasticky. So grab it with some needle nose pliers, pull that off, set it aside. Put that on back in the end. Go ahead and bend this back over. We're going to go ahead and pop off this gimbal for this ribbon here. Can you see now we got 3 screws. So let's go ahead and take off those 3 screws. All right, so let's take off those 3 screws then. Set those aside. These ones are Phillips. Sorry, I forgot to mention. All the other ones up till now have all been hex. These ones are going to be 3 small Phillips. They're tiny, so make sure you have kind of a pointy head. I don't know what that's called for your Phillips screwdriver. All right, we got those. This right here, I think is a compass. It's UPS. I'm not sure. Yeah, compass. Go ahead and get that lifted up out of the way. Be careful, you don't want to pull those braids apart down there. But what this is going to do, kind of bend that down here, is we'll get a little better access in here. Now there's a couple ways that you could probably take out these walls. We've actually been thinking about it. If I want to clip them out, I don't have a whole lot of room, but I know that's the one I want to get out. So here's some needle nose pliers. Kind of just going at that. Here's a. You know what I'm going to do, you guys, is I'm going to carefully Dremel it out. So I'm going to do my best to not hit this ribbon right here. That would not be good at all. I don't want to have to replace that ribbon. Okay, so that wasn't as pretty as I wanted it to be, but you can see here on both sides, where's my pointer? Right here and here, taking those out. This one I took out a little bit more in the corner than I wanted. So I'm gonna do a test fit here. Maybe some tape on those ribbons would be probably good. Some Scotch tape, hold them on their side. That was probably a little more daring than I should have been there, you guys. All right, so hopefully you can kind of see this vision now. Pull this gimbal ribbon aside. You can kind of see here that these are going to fit right down in here. So this is why we took off that power thing, because it needs to go down here. All right, so that one actually fits extremely well. I'm very happy with that. So let's try this other one. Again, pull back the ribbon, the gimbal ribbon. Some needle nose pliers, just kind of gently push it down. Should be kind of a little channel there, a little reservoir. All right, so let's zoom out here. Let's turn this around. All right, so you can kind of see the almost look like pigtails coming down on each side. That's all right. We'll glue these in place later, so they'll be exactly what we want. I've got them backwards again. We got one of them backwards. We're just mocking it up for right now. So that's how it's going to kind of be. And so now I could put this down. You can see here, zoom in, that those fit under there extremely well. So that's that looks really good. So now we got those in there. Now what we got to figure out is where we're going to solder and how do we want to do it. And so I've been thinking about these ones right here, and how I could use those. There's a plastic piece in the place right here. Kind of don't like that. If I move this wire over, there's not a whole lot of room here. So what I've been thinking about is tapping into these two lines. Last time I did, I put it here on the two on the main board, and it worked just fine. And what I did was I actually did two lines coming up, two small lines, and then I just kind of dovetailed these two into one. Worked really well, but it was a tight fit. And there's not a lot of room in there, and I want the fan to work really well. I want to be able to fly long range, and so I'm going to tap into these lines here, I think. I'm going to probably strip a little bit of the wire in the middle in order to get these there. You kind of see there they're going to come around the bend. I think I want to take off part of it right here with my Dremel, this little edge, probably from here up. Same on the other side. So let's go ahead and pull our power leads back out. Done with those for a second. Yeah, so we're gonna take off this corner and this corner over here now. Turn you around for a second. The last time I did this, I nicked one of these balance lead cables, and so I'm a little hesitant right now to not nick those cables. So, I mean, it's always fixable. Don't get me wrong. It's just if you can avoid some of the steps from having to fix things, then it's a whole lot funner, to be honest. All right, so I took off this corner here. I'm gonna Dremel this as well. I'm gonna just kind of clear out that support inside. Probably a little bit of overkill, but I want plenty of room in there, just to make sure I can run the lines. I don't want any clearance issues. that actually worked out pretty well. I take my air compressor at the end and I blow all this out really good. Alright, so you can kind of see we cleared that corner out, so it should be able to come around the bend real easy there. Again, be very careful for that that gimbal, or for that gimbal ribbon. Let's hope I didn't nick it. I'm pretty sure I didn't. The other side. You can absolutely cut this out with wire cutters. Now, as I'm dribbling all this crap out, I do want to note that you can come out the sides here and not have to Dremel. I just want to be able to fold things up nice and neat. I like the look of it being in the front. So you don't have to Dremel anything. You can come out the side. Sorry, I probably should have said that earlier. Alternately, people come out at the top a lot. So yeah, but now that we did that, we got basically everything Dremeled out that we're gonna need to do the dual mod. Again, let's do it right. Doesn't always look the cleanest inside, but it's gonna work perfectly. So let's do another test fit here. Push those down. This will be on top here. Awesome. I don't know if you guys, let's see if I can get a good shot on the camera on that. So, doesn't look the prettiest, but look at that, it tucks in extremely well, so we can just solder, bam, right there. We could even have a little extra room. Don't assume on anything. Make sure you test fit both sides. Yeah, that tucks in really nice as well. Alright, so this is where I would say we could hot glue them in place. So, my hot glue gun actually broke on me. I don't have a hot glue gun, but right in here where it comes in, that's where I would hot glue it. So if you got a hot glue gun, guys, go ahead and hot glue in here. Don't touch the cables or the ribbon or anything, but hot glue that. And you should be good. I like to hot glue it because it puts it in place. Again, I don't have a good working hot glue gun at the moment, so I can't do it. But if I did, I would at this stage. So let's pretend I did. We're going to go ahead and progress forward, even though I have not. But yeah, just pretend that I have. Okay, guys, so we got really good test fit. This is the point where we're going to go ahead and try to solder some things. So this is where I get to solder on video. So yeah, everything should work out just fine, I'm sure. I'm gonna go ahead and put my gimbal cover back on here for no particular reason and other than just to do it. So just got my soldering iron here. I got some solder. This one has some flux built into it. Make sure you get good solder. Okay, so first thing we're going to do here is we're going to strip and we're going to shorten. And so basically we need to figure out how long these need to be. Again, the white is going to be positive and the black is going to be our negative. And so I don't want these to be too long. We want to do it just right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cut in a spot out of this. We're going to wrap it around and we'll solder it on there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do this part first. Don't cut these wires, you guys. I'm just cutting the outside part. I'm just cutting the insulation. Okay, so just be very careful getting insulation off. Probably a knife, pocket knife, X-Acto blade will work just fine. I forgot my knife, so I'm just gonna use some wire clippers. Again, the goal is just to get a chunk off in the middle so that we can splice into it. You can kind of see here what I'm doing. Make sure that the cable stays good. Just want to be able to splice into that just a little bit. That looks pretty good. I'm just kind of cutting the edge. There we go. So if you can kind of see that. So we're gonna have to be careful with these two. Back out. Spread them apart a little bit. I want to make sure that we don't have any arc. Alright, so that negative one's going to end up being that long. So I'm going to take it here. I'm going to get a healthy line on the end there. I like to twist mine. We're going to end up twisting it around and then soldering it. Same thing for the other side, twist it around, solder it. So we've got grounds. Those are trimmed, so I feel pretty good about those lengths. Cut in there and get those soldered. In a cutting mood. It's going to come out right there. Here. So at this point, guys, I'm just kind of doing measuring it right, and then we're gonna just solder it. So yeah, and hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing to measure it. I'm bringing it down in its spot, seeing where it's gonna be, where it needs to be. See that right there? And then I'm saying, all right, I need a little bit more, right, to be able to wrap around and solder. So that's where I cut. Strip it. All right, guys. Don't quit on me now. We're in the home stretch here, actually. So make sure that you get your plugs the way that you want them. If you want the flat side out, flat side in, doesn't matter. Just make sure you get that part sorted all right. This is where it goes from not being a test fit anymore, especially if you did that glue earlier. Probably you're done at this point. Hopefully you didn't burn your hands. I did that before. Hot glue guns, they're hot, dude. They suck. Get those wires nice and tucked down in there. Okay, you got everything spliced. Now we're gonna go ahead and tin it up. Since we're doing it over the circuit board, be very careful not to drip solder. You can put a piece of cardboard or something below it if you need to prevent that. And then what I want to do, cut that right there. basically we want to merge those two together into one, make it a short stubby, get rid of any of the things that are coming off, and then we'll tack it to that one. So that one ended up a little bit better than the other one. Clean up this other one that's too big. Didn't like it. Feeling pretty good about that. So now let's go ahead and get our lines where we want them to be. Decided to put the compass line under on this one. This is what I'm going to call final placement. Alright, positive one lines up pretty well there with where we want it to be. Just test fit this up real quick here. And it's going to end up where I want it to be. If you can see that, kind of offset them so the positive hits the white right here, and the black's going to hit the black, the negative on the negative. All right, I think we might have the positive one done. I think I got the negative one there now. All right, so we got the positive and the negatives. I'm happy with those. Those are what I'm gonna call the backside solders. All right, now that we've got the backside connectors done, I'm gonna put this this power board back in place, test the fitment. We're gonna have to solder the front side and kind of push it back and get it locked in so it's nice and flush here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple screws back in. Hopefully you didn't lose any of those little black rubber grommets. I lost one, or I misplaced it. I can't find it. But I got the other two, so I got the other two on the sides. So just be careful with those, make sure you don't lose any parts. So I'm gonna do that. We're gonna end up taking this right back off after we do these front side solders. I just want to make sure the soldering is complete. And then what we'll do is we'll hit it all with electrical tape, liquid electrical. So hopefully you can kind of see what we got going on here. Kind of looks like a spider web, but it's not. We got the 3 going on the negative. We got the 3 on the positive. So I just want to get a little more solder here on the front part, just to just make sure we got a good connection there. All right, so at this point, before you put electric tape on, go ahead and just kind of fold these things in here and just, let's do a test fitment. You should be able to feel like this is going to push down in place. It's not going to run into those. The key on this, guys, is to make sure that whatever you have here can be kind of tucked in a little bit and flush. It can't be further out than these 2 lines here. Otherwise, you're going to run into some fitment issues. And so that's one of the big reasons why we had you kind of cut some of those areas, is to allow those lines to be routed nice and easy in there, so that it doesn't poke out. So what I'm going to do now, you're like, hey, holy crap, there's some exposed lines there. So let's do some liquid electrical tape. Again, this stuff rocks. Liquid tape. I think we're done with the soldering iron for now. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. We'll let it get cold. I really don't want to use it anymore if I can avoid it. If I had some batteries, this is where I would test out my batteries. We should have good power connections. I don't have any 3S batteries right now. So my other one, I ordered some new batteries. So I kind of dropped the ball on that. But otherwise, we're going to be good to go here. So I'm going to go ahead and take these 3 screws off again. We're going to just open it back up. Try not to bend it too hard. You don't want to break any of your solders or your connections there. But we're going to take these off, and we're just going to slather these things up with some liquid tape. Then we're going to give it a little bit to dry. Alright, so let's gently pull this off again. Gonna just have that on there. So again, liquid tape. I don't want anything to drop down underneath it. Probably won't. Alright, so pull it out. There's going to be lots of crap on there, so alright, scrape it. You want to be able to control your application. And just kind of paint it on there. It's not going to hurt if you get it on the wires or anything, or the circuits. Probably don't want to. It'll be a little sticky. But yeah, just kind of paint it on there, you guys. The goal is to cover those solder points. The more you paint on, longer it's going to take to dry. You hear that my wires are trying to kind of shift up on me. This is where gluing it in helps. Again, I didn't have a hot glue gun, but if you glue this in, these wires won't pop up, and the whole process for soldering should have been a lot easier too. So, okay, so we got the backside. You can see that part of it dripped right there. All right, so it's all slathered up real good. You can see I got some liquid tape on the bottom there. So that's why it's good to put a little piece of paper, a piece of cardboard. Let me put this back down. Yeah, I got some more drips coming. So I'm just going to leave that cardboard on there for now. I got some liquid tape on my phone here. It's like a rubber, so not a big deal. So, flip it over, make sure it's on there real good. No, I probably don't need to, but just gotta slap a little bit more on there. Alright guys, so we're going to let that liquid tape dry for just a little bit. Let's see what the jar says. Yeah, it doesn't say. So we're going to let that dry for a little bit. Alright, now we got stuff that's all dried, or mostly dried. So we're going to go ahead and remove our cardboard here. If you see any spots that look like they're going to drip down, feel free to get those taken up. But basically we're going to put things back together here. Make sure all your little black grommets are on their little spots. If you need to, push your lines back down. They may have come up. Alright, we're going to go ahead and screw this plate back in place, and hopefully it's the last time I do that. Alright, get those nice and snug. Get you guys a good shot here. It looks a little sticky in there. It's probably just a little wet still, but it looks really good. Really happy with how it turned out. If I touch it, it's that part doesn't quite leave a fingerprint. The part around the edge did. So again, that's kind of what it looks like. That actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna get all of these wires kind of just pushed down in place the best that I can. Get this GPS wire back kind of in place here. Just go slow, be careful. I don't want to rip or break anything at this point, you guys. And then this one kind of just snakes around there like that. See how that one went. All right, so I like to put that one under this ribbon cable, and then we're gonna go ahead and just put that right back in place. It should clip right in there. Any problems? This next one, go ahead and run the black and white one goes under first, and then this one goes kind of around it. Pop that right back in there, and actually things look really good here, you guys. So it's all sorted. I trust that electrical tape. It's pretty good. My contacts are pretty far away, so we're good there. Go ahead and turn this, and really at this point we're done with the soldering and stuff. All right, so after you got your screws and everything back in place, go ahead and put this film thing back on. So you should just kind of go under these gimbal ribbons. Probably should have done this before I put the gimbal ribbons on, but it'll stick on. Just kind of line it up. Put it back in place. All right, that looks good. So now we got that back on. We're gonna go ahead and put this on. Again, the first step. Lay it down. Okay. Once you've got it, we're going to go ahead and start putting screws back in. I left the gimbal cover on. I just want to keep things clean and safe. It's got some plastic shavings there. So we're going to do 4 screws here. One. 2, and we're in the home stretch right here, guys. All that we need is to basically put it all back together and then charge some 3-cell LiPo batteries or high voltage LiPo batteries, and we're good to go. As you do this, be really careful not to over tighten. I found that these screws actually strip pretty easily. Good tools really help to have good tips, but if you over tighten, you might end up stripping, so don't do that. Okay, we got those 4 screws on. We're gonna go ahead and put these plates back in. So they'll go on one side each. Okay, now we put these ones back on. Now when you go to put these ones on, these are going to be the shortest screws. There should be 2 of the shortest screws in there. There should be just a little bit shorter. So go ahead and grab those, put them in here. And I don't know how much shorter they are, but you should be able to visibly kind of see that they're just a little bit shorter. All right. Then go ahead and flip it over. Go ahead and put these 6 screws back in. I unfortunately only have 4. That's alright though. I know I'm going to find them on the floor somewhere. So be very careful when you're moving around with these these screws. Keep them in the right spot. Don't drop them or anything. So yeah, I'm going to go these 2 and these 2. I'm going to skip those 2 there. If the shelf flies off and I'm flying. Oh, it won't. All right. Battery in. This is where you would put batteries on and double check everything. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take off the gimbal ribbon. We'll start it up. Make sure everything works. Oh. All right, so at this point you can marvel in your newly modded Mavic. Really cool thing that I like about this is it folds up. So when you fold it up, these things can just stay tucked in right here. So when you put it in your bag, it's not a big deal, you know. I did nick, as we saw earlier, my gimbal cover. Hopefully you didn't do that. But you know, if I do that, these things tuck in here, you know, really well. So if you've got a bag or something, you know, this is just going to fit in there extremely well. So